Hello, welcome to the Uplift from Vision. Very glad you're joining us today. My name is Billie Francis. I'm a licensed practitioner through Vision, and it is my great joy to spend a little time with you today. We're going to start our Uplift with a prayer. I'll be doing some reading with you, and then we'll close again with a prayer. And just take this time. Isn't it just a gift to take a little time in the middle of your day or whenever you have a chance to look at this and just to take a few minutes out to be with yourself and to be with some spiritual principles. So let's start with a prayer. So grateful that we are here to remind ourselves of truth. And the greatest truth is, in fact, our oneness. Our oneness in this presence we call God. That presence where we are safe, we are loved, we are all the qualities of joy and good and abundance. That we know as we stop and remember that is the greater truth about us. So I know that is the truth, that is what's happening here, that is what's always happening, that God is that eternal presence. We are so grateful to have this knowing, to have this teaching, and to have this time together to celebrate that truth of being. And so I give thanks for this opportunity to remember, and I give thanks for the opportunity to be together in love. I release it, I love it, and I let it be. And so it is. Yes. So we're coming together to be uplifted, yes? And I thought I would read some excerpts from a book called Wise Women Speak. I had the privilege of contributing a chapter in this book. And so I'm going to read a little bit and share 3 concepts with you today. And I look forward to actually hearing from some of you to hear how you resonate with those concepts. We love our chat messages too as well, don't we? So the first thing I want to read to you is something about that we're familiar with, and it's the idea of the soil. We talk about the soil quite a bit when we talk about the teaching symbol. The soil is neutral. It simply produces according to the seeds we provide. Our role is to trust the creative process and nurture its unfolding. Our lot is to sow our passion and tend our garden with intention, awareness, and compassion. Those are powerful concepts. So imagine that you're sowing your garden with these things, and that we're tending it. We're bringing to the garden to make it flourish, and we're bringing intention, awareness, and compassion. Our part is to weed out judgment, trim analysis, and harvest happiness. Our responsibility is to establish mindful practices, to expand our awareness and enrich our lives. That's our responsibility. The gift has been given, the soil is neutral, but our responsibility is to establish some practices that help us expand our awareness and enrich our lives. And our fulfillment is to embrace our wholeness, celebrate our connectedness, and abide in joyful unfolding. Nothing to it, right? This life, we can simply receive those gifts from Spirit and pay attention, stay in awareness, and then enjoy this unfoldment of life itself. So I have these 3 concepts to share with you, and the first one is commitment is freedom. Now that doesn't really sit right, does it, at first? It's like, wait a minute, commitment, isn't that an obligation? Doesn't that bring in the idea of constraining ourselves in some way or restraining ourselves? But the idea is that commitment is freedom. these practices that we can do, committing to the practices that are done on a regular basis, keep us on solid ground. Mindful practices are life-enhancing habits. And what do those life-enhancing habits do? They nurture ourselves physically, mentally, intellectually, and spiritually. So the habits that we would choose, those mindful practices, they're there obviously to enrich us. Mindful practices expand our awareness so we can increase our options. Now that's an incredible concept and a mouthful and a mindful. Let me read that again. Mindful practices expand our awareness so that we can increase our options. Do you realize that if you only have two choices, you have no options at all? You have no choice. Because if you only have two things, you only have A and B, and you don't like A, then you have to do B. And that doesn't feel right, does it, sometimes? So when we use the expansion idea, when we expand our options, and that's what our awareness does. It's endless, it's infinite, the amount of choice that we have. Now we truly are at choice. We can fine-tune and be true to ourselves and opt for just that thing that is right for us. So much for vanilla and chocolate, or strawberry and peach. There's more ice cream flavors, are there not? So we can, if we don't like peach, then there's other things to choose from. There's a whole rainbow. 31 flavors, figured that out a long time ago. Another concept. Secular routine. When we think of mindful practices, we might again think of things we do on a regular basis, but when we do them with awareness, secular routine becomes sacred ritual. So your mindful practice might be doing a household chore, or your mindful practice could be doing something that is repetitive, but that secular practice can actually become ritual, sacred ritual. And then that discipline of doing it is your freedom. Commitment is freedom. Second concept. Oh, you're going to love this one. Give up the need to understand. What? Give up the need to understand. We will naturally learn from our experiences if we remain mindful and attentive. Life is going to give us learning, especially if we stay awake and aware. So we're going to naturally learn from our experiences if we're attentive and if we're mindful. Through non-judgmental discernment, we become aware of what supports and what runs counter to our values, our intention, and our well-being. So again, we're staying aware, we're staying awake, and we can use this discernment. And of course, it's non-judgmental discernment. But is that right for me? How can I make this so that it's a better fit for me? Or what do I need to tweak in order to have this fall into line with my values and with my intentions, and certainly with my well-being? So using that idea of discernment. Now here's the idea about where we were talking about the giving up the need to understand. Excessive time and energy spent analyzing, calculating, and assessing robs the creative process. Now we've all done that. We think, we obsess, we're continuously analyzing something, but if it's excessive, it will absolutely rob that creative process. Mindful observation is the contrast. Mindful observation allows us to correct our course. Just that, just correct the course. And when we give up the need to understand, we open ourselves to knowing. So beyond understanding, beyond analysis, beyond a lot of information only, then the knowing has a chance to be heard or felt or expressed. Well, the third concept here. Everything is simply interesting. Because nothing takes us out of the present moment faster than succumbing to specialness. Wow. Now, I've done that. I know you've done that. When we think that our accomplishments are just fabulous, and by contrast, we think perhaps our dilemmas, our issues, and our problems are also special. It's the best day, or it's never been this horrible for anyone ever before. So we can fall into that, and that's what we're calling specialness. And nothing takes us out of the present moment faster than falling into that, succumbing to specialness. When we believe, again, that our result is the best or the worst, or that we are completely amazing or completely inept, our comparisons return us to the past. So that's the idea, is to pay attention to that tendency to compare and contrast and find our situation so very special. So another term then, besides fabulous, the best, or the worst, is interesting. So I invite you to try that word on. To call something interesting. Interesting is neither faulty nor fabulous. Interesting is present time awareness. What if we declare life interesting when events fall apart, interesting when events fall together, and interesting when life just is? Now, it has been challenging, has it not, in the middle of what we're experiencing these days, to use a term interesting, but it's pretty neutral. And it keeps us in the present. It is kind of interesting. It's interesting, all the choices that are being made and the news that's happening. It's not the worst thing, and it's certainly not the best thing, but it's always interesting. So I invite you to use that term. As we learn to simply observe rather than rate, all of our experiences become valuable. See, that's the gift. If it's interesting, then everything's interesting and everything's valuable. Rather than having ups and downs, try expanding the joy of now by accepting everything just as it is. Simply interesting. Let's close with a prayer. Giving thanks for this perfectly perfect life and our ability to be present in it. I invite you now to just take a beautiful cleansing breath into this precious moment. We call it interesting. We give up the need to overanalyze. We receive the gifts that have already been given. The very life that we have is a gift. We can say, thank you, God, and be grateful and be respectful that this same life is given to us, that is given to everyone. We're not special, we're ordinary, and that ordinary is magnificent in itself. Simple, interesting, ordinary, and God-given. So we pay attention through our practices. We're grateful that we have the ability to stay awake and aware, that we've been given that dominion over our thoughts and dominion over our lives. So thank you, God, for the ability to receive the gift of this perfect life and to live it fully and powerfully and joyfully. knowing that this word is the truth. I can release it now with the joy in my heart, and so it is. Amen. So I remind you that we do have the Uplift on every day, 1 o'clock Pacific time. We love having you join here and share with each other. So be sure to come back, remembering all the while that we are connected. No matter what's going on, we are together, we are one, we are loved. Please take care.